Hi, my name is Fiona Howes and welcome to my tutorial for Pixlr Editor on Google Drive using the Google Chromebook. This tutorial will help both teachers and students here at Lakeside Academy. Now that your Google Chromebook is open, go to the Google Chrome icon at the bottom left corner and click on it. Then you need to sign in on your Google account. Click the blue sign in icon at the top right corner. Sign in with your email and password. Now that you are signed into your Google account, click on the app icon at the top right hand corner. You must then find the Google Drive app, which is a green, yellow, and blue triangle. Now that your Google Drive is open, you will see a red Create button, which will bring you to all of your Google Drive apps, which are different from your Google apps. This will open up a bar with all of your Google Drive apps. If you do not already have Pixlr Editor, click where it says Connect More Apps at the bottom of the bar. Then a little window will pop up, and if you don't see Pixlr Editor right away, you can easily scroll down using the scroll bar or search it using the search bar. As you can see, I searched it, and you can see that Pixlr Editor is the first thing that pops up. Be careful not to click on Pixlr Express since this is a tutorial for Pixlr Editor. If you don't already have Pixlr Editor, there will be a blue button with the word Connect on it rather than the green button. So simply click that. And now everyone should have Pixlr Editor in their app bar. So the first thing that we're going to learn to do with Pixlr Editor is how to start a project. So there are a few options that we have of how to begin. We can create a new image, which, as it says, start with a blank image or from the clipboard. Basically what this does is it will give you a blank white canvas which you can start from scratch. Open image from computer. So here you just click here, it will bring you to a few browsers. You can click images or anything like that. Open image from URL. As most people know, a URL is a link. So at the top of a browser page, you will have a URL which you can just copy and paste into this box here, and then it will import the picture that way. And you can also open image from library. So if you have any other projects that you've done on Pixlr, or if you have your Facebook, Flickr, or Picasa account linked with your Google Drive, you can start a project this way using a picture from there. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from scratch using this here. Now we can name what we want our project to be called. So I will call mine Trial. This is the size that the canvas will be. This is not the size in centimeters or inches. This would be absolutely huge. This is in pixels. So we have the option here to change the width or change the height in pixels. So I'm going to click OK, and this is the plain white canvas that I was talking about. So we can do many things here, but the first thing that we're going to look in the top left hand corner at the options. So we have File, Edit, Image, Layer, Adjustment, Filter, View, Language, and Help. Help is not for anything like this. It won't give you tutorials or anything like that. It's if you're having problems with the actual software. Language is, of course, the language that the program will run in. Obviously, right now it is running in English. So I'm going to start with File. New image, Open Image URL, or Open Image Library. These are all the options that we just received before. So if we change our mind and decide that we don't want to start from scratch, we want to actually include an image from our computer or from Facebook, we can change that here. This is where you would save your projects. Print, if you're doing a magazine or a school project, you can easily print it off if your Chromebook or home computer is hooked up to a printer. Close, log out, exit, these are all ways that you can, when you're finished your project, you can exit it. But be sure that you save everything before you go, or else you will lose it. Now there's Edit. Undo is if you make a mistake and you want to go back to how it was before. Redo is if accidentally you delete something and you want to redo it, so it will go to previously. Cut and copy are very similar, seeing as when you do either of these options, you will save it to the clipboard. So you won't see this, but after when you click paste, the image will reappear. The only difference is when you cut something, the image will erase from where it was originally, and copy will almost duplicate it. So the image will stay where it was originally, and then it will also be put in the new place that you want to put it. Clear is when you actually delete something. People very often mistake clear and cut, but they are different. Free transform is when you want to play around with the proportions or the size of the image, so you can make it wider or longer, or in proportion you can make it longer and wider equally. Free distort is when you want to actually distort the look of the image, so you can make the image, the center of the image larger or smaller. You would distort the image. Select all is when you want to work at everything at the same time and manipulate them all together, and deselect all is obviously when you've done doing what you wanted to do when you selected everything, and then you can easily deselect it so you can see how it would actually look. Image. Image size and canvas size are very different. You can input images onto your blank canvas and then manipulate them individually, and image size will modify what size those images are. The canvas size will actually manipulate the size of this white thing right here, which we set the size before when we first started. We can also rotate the canvas 180 degrees, 90 degrees clockwise, which is what the capital CW stands for, or 90 degrees counterclockwise, which is what the capital CCW stands for. We can also flip the canvas vertically, which is when the top and the bottom would switch. It would be completely flipped. Or we can flip the canvas horizontally, which would be when the left and right would switch. And of course, we always have the option to crop whatever we're doing. So now we're moving on to layer. If you're not sure what a layer is, just look over to the right hand side and you'll see a box that says layers. As you can see right now, we only have one layer, which is the background, but every time that we draw on it or add text to it or add images, we will get a different layer each time. So by the time we have our finished product, we can have 10 to 15 layers, if not more. Of course, you can always complete a project in 1 or 2 layers, but it isn't a bad thing if you have an extreme amount of layers. So this is when you want to create a new layer. So if you know that you're going to start working on something, such as you know that you're going to add a picture, you could create a new layer so that you can just add the image right there. You can duplicate a layer. Let's say if you did something that you really like and you don't want to have to redo it, you can simply duplicate the layer and then put it on the opposite side or put it wherever else you want. Also, you can always delete a layer, so if you did work that you don't like, you can delete the entire layer, which could be a few things or it could just be one item. Now, as I was saying before, you can always open an image as a layer. You can open image URL as a layer, or open image or open from library as a layer. So these are all different ways that you can add images, but this way your entire background is in one image. You can have as many images as you want on the background, and you can put them together in whatever order you want. Merge down is when you want to merge layers together. So let's say you have 4 layers that you want to put together, but you want to put them together and they're layer 3 to 7. So then you say merge down. So you would merge all the layers below that into one layer. Or there's such thing as a visible or invisible layer. So visible is obviously when you can see that layer, but after you do work, you can click something so that you can make that layer invisible. So this way you can merge all of the visible layers. And flatten image is when you merge all of the layers together. Move layer up, move layer down. This is just a moving thing, so you just click on it and you can drag it to a spot above or drag it to a spot below. These options are for more advanced users, and I would advise you to stay away until you are more comfortable with the other options that I have already given to you. These are just more complicated, and you can easily do a very good job editing a picture or creating a project with the other layers. You don't need to use these, and I would stay away until you are more comfortable. And as I said before, with the canvas, you can rotate the layer 180 degrees, 90 degrees clockwise or counterclockwise, and you can flip the layer vertically or horizontally. So again, vertically is when the top and the bottom would switch, and horizontally is when left and right would switch. Now, to show how the adjustment, filter, and view options work, I thought that it would be best to include a picture. So, as I said before, I'm going to go to Layer, Open Image as Layer, and I will find the picture that I want, go into the proper file, and here. So, now I have a model on my page, and I will show the different adjustments that I can make. So if I find that it is too dark, I can make it brighter. But if I find that it's too bright, I can make it darker. Or I can make the contrast between the light and the dark more visible, or less visible. Hue and saturation. So hue can obviously make her more green or less green, which would in fact make her more purple. Saturation makes her a little bit more red or orange or less, so it's the kind of color that gives her a natural glow. Lightness is again the difference between the light and the dark for how light I want it to be. So I'm going to put that like that. Okay. Color balance. So this is how much red is in there, how much green is in there. I'm going to put that back to 0. How much blue is in there. Okay. Levels. This just shows the different levels of purple, green, and red are in there. And again, how much darkness is in there. So if I want no darkness, it will of course make it lighter. And if I want less lightness, it will make it darker. Curves. So again, it's on a curved line, which I can make her darker or brighter. I'm gonna give her a little bit of darkness, like that. Okay. Or exposure. So how much exposure I want her to have. So she can be overexposed, which means she would have a lot of light on her, or underexposed, which means that she's very dark. Now we're going to be looking at the different effects. So you can find the effects with the second half of the adjustments and all of the filters. So the first effect that we're going to look at is invert. This makes each color the exact opposite to its original. The second one that we're going to look at is sepia, and as you can see, this changes the tones in the image to a more beige scale. Then we're going to look at solarize. This reverses the tones in the image. Then we have desaturate. This removes the color from the image, therefore turns it into an image on the gray scale. Now, old photo. In its essence, this will make the image look more vintage and like an old photo, so much older than it is. Then we have cross process. This is to create an image with drastic colors and contrast. Then we have threshold. As you can see, you can change the amount of threshold, and this turns the photo into a black outline of the image. As you can see, you can either see it more or see it less. Then once you play around with how you want it to look, you can see it like that. Now we are going to posterize. Again, this has different levels, and what this does is it reduces the several colors in the image to just a few selected colors. So the higher level it has, the more colors it will include. And obviously the less, it will be reduced to only a few colors. Then we have color lookup, and this will change the colors of the image to the color scale selected. So we can have green, the multicolors, but only in the colors selected in the box. So there's red, green, black, orange, anything like that. Now in filters, we have blur. This only creates a bit of fuzz on the picture. However, blur box creates a lot of fuzz within the box of the image. And then we have Gaussian blur, which keeps the shape of the image but makes the image much more fuzzy. Even when you put it to the end, it doesn't blur as much as box blur. And once you put it low enough, it can really kind of give a glow on the image. Now we have sharpen. Sharpen brings out a greater detail in the edges. Too much looks pixelated, just enough, and it will have a crisp look. Now the unsharp mask. This can sometimes have blurred pictures, and we'll save them. Then we have denoise. This will reduce the amount of static in the picture. And noise will give the image some texture. Add too much and it will be difficult to see the picture, so this adds static. And diffuse. This makes light skin glow while keeping dark skin areas dark. And in this picture, as we can see it, it just makes it look more dotted. Scan lines. This adds lines onto your image. Depending on the image, this can have a dramatic effect. It can give it kind of speed lines or anything like that. It can really have a very nice effect on images. Halftones. This can give your image a comic book look. If you add just the right amount, it can look like Wonder Woman or anything like that in the Marvel series, for example. Then we have pixelate. This brings out the individual pixels. This can be abstract art, or it can help you align items. Then we have point and eyes. This will divide the image with dots. Water swirl. This will make the image look like a wave, as you can see here. Those were the most used effects. The next few filters I won't give as much detail, as their effects speak much louder than words ever could. So the first one that we're going to be looking at is polar coordinates. After that, we're going to be looking at kaleidoscope, and we can change the amount of vertical and horizontal ones that we want. Then we have tilt shift, and again we can change the focus size and the focus location. Then once we have what we want, we can click OK. Then we have vignette. This gives a dark glow around it. Then we have pastels, which changes it into pastel colors. Then we have glamour glow, which gives it a glow. Then we have mimic HDR, then hope, and art poster, which you can change the amount of and the color. Then we have the heat map, like what they used to have in movies when we were little. Then we have tritone, which can change it to only 3 colors. Then you have night vision, which is like a night vision goggle that you'd be looking on it. And we have emboss, engrave, and find edges as the last ones. And last but not least, we have the view option. So we have zoom in, we have zoom out, actual pixels, which would be the actual size that it is in pixels, and we have show all, so this will make it the size of the screen. Then we have navigator, layers, history. If we look off to the right side, we see the navigator, the layers box, box and the history box. Then we have tool options, which would be over to the left side, and then we have full screen mode, which would just be the entire screen of your actual computer screen. And we also have the toolbox, which I mentioned before while talking about the view option. So we have the move tool, the marquee tool, which selects things, the lasso tool, which can help you crop. You have the crop tool, which crops things in a box shape. We have the wand tool, which helps select things. We have the pencil tool, the clone stamp tool, the eraser, the brush, paint bucket, gradient tool, color replacement tool, blur tool, sharpen tool, sponge tool, smudge tool, dodge tool, burn tool, drawing tool, red eye reduction, bloat tool, pinch tool, type tool, color picker, hand tool, zoom tool, and set foreground, set background. This is a little bit different than the toolbox that we have. The order is just a little bit different, but it has all of the things that we need and that we use to edit pictures. So now I'm going to finish editing my picture. So I already added things through adjustment, like I changed the hue and saturation, the color balance, the curves, everything like that. So I have her having the nice amount of color in her face and her features that I wanted. Now, as you can see, her head is cut off at the top in the picture. Now, I want to fix that. So I'm going to go onto brush, and I have white, which is like the background, and I'm going to try, and oops, I need to go on to layer 1, which is my layer with her, and I'm going to try and shave off a bit of this so that it can look like her head actually ends normally. So I'll give her a look like that. I'll take off a little bit here. Now, if you don't like anything that you do, you can always go back to it. I find it more natural like that rather than like that, so I am going to go back to it. Here we go. Maybe I'll take off a little bit more at the top so that it doesn't look so square, but that is how I want it to look. As you can see now at the top, it's rounded off so it doesn't look like her head actually finished there. Now I'm going to move this layer off to the side, and I'm going to bring up the original picture that I used so we can see the difference that rounding off her head made and also making the adjustments. So I'm going to go layer 2. Remember how I said there are invisible and visible layers? Just so I can bring this up at the end of the tutorial, I made it invisible. Now I'm going to make it visible again, and I'll move it down so that it's right next to our lovely model. And as you can see, her head is cut off, whereas we rounded it off nicely. The one that we edited has much more color. She has a nice flush in her face. Her hair looks much more healthy rather than over here where the model looks rather bland and her hair is very white rather than blonde. So there are just little things that you can do like this, and they have a great effect at the end. Now I want to save this project because I don't want to lose anything that I've done. So I'm going to go up to File and click Save. Now they give you different options of where you can save it to. You can save it on your Google Drive, where it's from. You can save it to your computer, to your IMM. You can save it to Pixlr Library, Facebook, Flickr, Picasa, anything like that. So I'm going to save mine to my Google Drive, and if you are finished with it, you can save it as a JPEG, and you can choose what quality you want. Depending on the quality, it can make the picture look more static. If you go all the way to the top, it will be the biggest size, and the more down you go for the quality, it will become much less. But if you aren't finished on it and you want to work on it again, click on the format, click the arrow, it will bring you down to PXD, layered pixel image. So you click on this and you'll say, okay, this does save it as a much larger size because it saves all of the different layers. And then once you are finished working on it, you go to save again and you just go on JPEG, which you can see the size is drastically smaller. But remember, every time that you work on it, you need to come back and save it as a layered pixel image. You can't only do it once and assume that everything will automatically save like it does on your Google Drive. This doesn't happen for this program. You must save it every time so that it will be there, all of your new adjustments, the next time that you work on it. So I am going to save mine as a JPEG. I am going to go to full quality and I'm going to click OK, and it will save it. This might take a few minutes, but it will save, and then you will have your entire project done and published as a JPEG, which is a very good format. It has good quality and you can really see the different details in your image. Thank you for listening to my tutorial on how to use Pixlr Editor. I hope you learned a lot during this tutorial and that you now understand how to use this program.